This is a Fox News alert. We're getting word a guided missile destroyer is leaving a port of call as the president prepares to make what he calls a major decision on Syria. As you may recall, when chemical weapons were used on Syrian civilians last year, President Trump authorized multiple missile strikes against a Syrian airfield. So what now? Jennifer Griffin joins us from the Pentagon with more. Jennifer?
Shannon, the Pentagon has been working since the weekend to draw up options for the president, who did not mince his words today, calling the attack barbaric, leaving no doubt that he planned to react to this weekend's attack. The president indicated a major decision on Syria would be coming in the next 24 to 48 hours. He said in his mind there was no doubt who was responsible for this attack and nothing is off the table.
If it's Russia, if it's Syria, if it's Iran, if it's all of them together, we'll figure it out, and we'll know the answers quite soon. So we're looking at that very, very strongly and very seriously.
The president mentioned Vladimir Putin by name, reinforcing a message delivered by Defense Secretary Jim Mattis at the Pentagon this morning. Mattis spoke before a pre-scheduled meeting with the Emir of Qatar. He shifted the focus to Russia, which has repeatedly blocked UN resolutions punishing Syria.
Is the U.S. capable of striking Assad's chemical weapons facilities?
Now, the first thing we have to look at is why a chemical weapon facility used at all when Russia was the framework guarantor of removing all the chemical weapons. And so, working with our allies and partners from NATO, Qatar, and elsewhere, we're going to address this issue.
Can you rule out taking action, launching airstrikes against Assad, Mr. Secretary?
I don't rule out anything.
Right now, the U.S. has no aircraft carriers in the Mediterranean or Persian Gulf, but the Navy announced the USS Donald Cook, a guided missile destroyer with dozens of Tomahawk cruise missiles on board, left a port call in Cyprus this morning, putting it within striking range of Syria. The Russians are blaming Israeli jets for bombing a Syrian airbase last night, which is used by both the Russians and the Iranians. 3 Iranians were killed in the overnight strike. Officials here at the Pentagon tell me the Israelis gave them a heads up about the strike and suggested more could be in the offing. Shannon?
All right, Jennifer Griffin for us at the Pentagon, thank you very much. UN Ambassador Nikki Haley has made a habit of tough talk on Russia. She's back at it tonight on what the administration believes is Russia's role in Syria.
The Russian regime, whose hands are all covered in the blood of Syrian children, cannot be ashamed by pictures of its victims. We've tried that before. We must not overlook Russia and Iran's roles in enabling the Assad regime's murderous destruction.
So let's talk about it with Rob O'Neill, the Navy SEAL who took out Osama bin Laden, and Michael Waltz, a decorated Green Beret and author of Warrior Diplomat, also running for Congress in Florida. Gentlemen, welcome to both of you.
Thanks, Shannon.
Thank you, Shannon.
All right, I want to play a little bit of what the president has said about who's responsible and where we go next.
We are getting clarity on that. Who was responsible for the weapons attack? We are getting some very good clarity, actually. We have some pretty good answers.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Yard. Thank you.
We have a lot of options militarily, and we'll be letting you know pretty soon. Okay?
Thanks, everyone. Thank you all.
Probably after the fact.
All right, Rob, how much more do you think we need to know about this? Because if a lot of people are questioning, if the president said, hey, listen, I think we're just about done with this mission in Syria, why would the Assad regime do something like this, which many people believe draws the U.S. right back in?
They did this because they've been doing it pretty much the whole time. This is their MO. They've gotten away with it a whole bunch of times, even with the famous red line with President Obama. We did strike them once last April. They know they can do it. They're sending a message to the holds out in that region of the resistance fighters. They want to show them they will do this to them and kind of put the fear into them. I give the president credit for taking a tactical pause and making sure it was them, not the rebels themselves, for the propaganda piece. Just finding out why they would do it, and they did do it. It has been confirmed it was them doing it, so you will see a swift response. We're trying to get an alliance together to include the French and the UK, hopefully the UN, but I think Ambassador Haley was right when she said, the UN needs to prove that, they're worth anything, but if I were betting on it, I would say they're not.
Okay, Michael, I want to read a little bit of what we've got in a statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation. Take it all with a grain of salt. It says false information is being planted about the alleged use of chlorine and other toxic agents by the Syrian government forces. It goes on later to say, we have to say once again that military interference in Syria, where Russian forces have been deployed at the request of the legitimate government, referring to Assad, under contrived and false pretexts is absolutely unacceptable and can lead to very grave consequences. Sounds like they're warning us, first of all, denying or questioning reports about who's responsible. There are even some reports they're questioning in Iran as well whether it even happened, and now warning us about getting involved militarily.
Well, two things, Shannon. Number one, we can't, at this point, the United States cannot do nothing. We just can't at this point. By turning a blind eye, as President Obama did the last several years of his administration, we essentially accept the use of WMD by despotic regimes all over the world, number one. Number two, we can tell by the movement of these types of munitions, by the types of aircraft, the types of artillery pieces used for them, who's responsible. And then thirdly, in terms of a Russian warning, so to speak, a number of Russian mercenaries recently tried to move into areas held by U.S. forces and backed by U.S. allies, and we essentially punched them in the nose and smoked them.
Okay.
The Russians wouldn't dare. And we have to respond, and I think we have to respond forcefully. Senator Graham is absolutely right. We need to take down Assad's Air Force, and if President Obama had done it years ago, I think thousands of lives would have been saved.
Okay, very quickly, because I want to get a quick response from both of you. What are your concerns about if Assad is taken out? What's waiting behind him? Rob, you first.
Well, I mean, there needs to be a swift response right now just because it's been happening and happening. And if we don't do anything now, the world is at a point where it needs to see justice. And if we keep letting this happen, we see it all over the place. The Russians are using chemical weapons in the UK. They're backing them here. And like Michael was saying, they're even lying about putting mercenaries in. They met the U.S., tried to with force. We pretty much decimated them.
And Michael, your concerns about Assad and what comes after?
Well, I don't know that we're necessarily talking regime change with Assad here, but what we're talking about is stopping his ability to use WMD on his own people and having the region descend into chaos again, where you have refugee flows that ISIS infiltrates through Europe and then uses those platforms to then attack the United States. So what we need, the United States needs to stay engaged in the region. We have less than 2,000 special operators there. And I think the downside of completely pulling out is you have ISIS come back again, our allies get slaughtered, and Iran and Russia running amok in the Middle East.
Yeah, and those allies become very wary about working with us again if we leave at the most critical time.
And if we have to go back again, the price will even be higher.
Yeah, Michael Waltz and Rob O'Neill, thank you both for your service and for being with us tonight. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thanks, Shannon.
All right.